Okay, so a lot of people had asked me how I manage backups for video on my computer, and for those who are interested, this is kind of my backup workflow for my setup. None of it's sponsored. All of these products I bought my own from Amazon, and I'll leave links in the description if you want to check them out. But obviously, this is just what works for me, and you might have a different budget, different requirements, but I'll run you through sort of how I work, and hopefully there's some takeaways that you can kind of go on with from that, and create your own workflow. So I'm going to break this down into two different sections. So I've got one which is my laptop backup and one which is my video backup, and we'll start with my video backup. So this box essentially is for all of my video editing work. It stores all my client work, and it's pretty much it's two hard drives. You can kind of see these bays on the front. It's two hard drives in one unit. So what it is it's called this type of drive is called a DAS drive. So it's a direct access storage drive. You'll probably have also heard about NAS drives, which are they're sort of network drives essentially. But for me, because I want really quick sort of read-write speeds on my drive, I want to be able to access the footage really quickly. I mean, I edit off this drive quite a lot of the time, so I want the speed to be really fast. So on this, on the back of it, I'll just quickly spin around actually. On the back, you've got a USB-C 3.1, and this isn't actually the newest version of this drive. They may have actually even upgraded that port, but I find that that port is really quick, and it's really good for kind of my workflow. So essentially, yeah, you've got two drives plugged into there, and inside there I've got two Seagate Barracuda 6 terabyte drives, and they're exactly the same drives, just in both slot. They're just standard 3.5-inch drives. So you could buy any drive you wanted. I like these drives because I find them reliable. They're quick, I just kind of know they're going to work. So I've just got two of those in there. And essentially, when you buy this, you get the enclosure, and then you get the drives that you want, and you get a couple of tools, and you just sort of put them into these docking cases. You can kind of see it's just screwed onto the edge. You just get a little screwdriver, and you can screw them onto the edge. And then they're fairly easy to just kind of slide in. Sometimes they don't quite go in right, but you can see it's pretty easy to just slot them in. And then, like I say, these two drives are identical. So this is the port for the door that's not quite so easy sometimes. So again, you can see another 6 terabyte Barracuda in there. So I like it so that I've got two identical drives, same size, same make and everything. And then the way I've set it up is so that on the back, I've set it up so it's RAID 1, and essentially all that does is I plug this into my computer over, it comes with USB-A to USB-C, and I've just swapped that out for USB-C to USB-C because I've got a MacBook Pro, so I didn't want to have adapters and that kind of thing, because that tends to be where the drive disconnects all the time if you've got additional adapters in the way. So I'm just going straight from my MacBook, USB-C to USB-C on this. And what happens is this drive 1, for me, that's available on the Mac just as an external drive. So I basically just formatted that to OS Journal. So because I'm working on a Mac, I only really use this on my MacBook. So I've just formatted it to the best format I can use for my Mac. And then this drive here is essentially almost like a silent drive. It doesn't show up on my computer. I can't see it. But when I copy anything onto drive 1, I'll see the drive 2 light come up as well. And essentially everything from drive 1 is just cloned onto drive 2. So I've got two exact copies. So if drive 1 were to fail, I've got drive 2. If drive 2 were to fail, I've still got drive 1, So the only way I could lose everything is through some kind of dramatic power surge where both of them blew out, which is pretty unlikely. But I also, I'll put things up in the cloud sometimes for always final renders. Just, if there are bits where I feel like I need another backup of it. But I mean, I've got two backups here. If one drive fails, I'll just, I'll replace it with another drive exactly the same. One thing I would say this probably seems like sort of quite a lot and quite excessive, but the thing is, if you lose client work, it either means you've got to go back and reshoot it, or you're going to have to refund the client. And honestly, once you've bought this box, it's cheaper than one refund. So, you know, the box and the drives, you need somewhere to store your footage anyway. There's nothing worse than having like a laptop that's just clogged up with video footage that's supposed to be archived, or you've got a big stack of hard drives that, you know, you've got to label them all and it's just all a mess. Like, I've already do have quite a few hard drives and things like that, but it's much neater to just have everything on like one nice working box. And then, you know, you can, if you want to sort of put one of these drives away when you're not working or you've gone away or anything like that, you can put one of these in like a, you know, in a safe place, and then your two drives are separated. But yeah, for me, this is a really like crucial part of my workflow, to be honest. So the enclosure itself is really simple, to be honest. It's just to set it up, all you've got is just you know, one power lead and obviously the connection to the computer. You can set up your the way you want it to work. So if you want two individual drives, you can have that. If you want the clone storage, you can have that. It's got a few different options. You know, I'm not, you know, there might be better options out there for you than this, so I'm not going to go like right into all the details. But essentially, it's just a good enclosure that holds two drives. It's got fan cooling for them, so if the drives start to get hot, it will start to cool them down. It's not overly loud, which is quite good. I don't really want really loud drives on my desk, and haven't got the biggest desk in the world either. So you can get 4 or even 5 bay drives of these, but they're obviously much wider enclosures. So, you know, the 5 bay drive's going to be out here somewhere. So it's one of those things where I've just started out with what I feel like I needed. If eventually I do grow out of this one, you know, I can either copy the 2 drives onto bigger drives, or I can get additionals that have sort of single drives on the end, and I could archive footage onto those. But right now, this is working really well for me. I do wish at the time of buying this I'd bought myself the 8TB drives, but at the time I think it was parts shortage. I couldn't get the 8TB drives, which I was a bit gutted about, but the 6TB drives have been absolutely fine, so I've gone with two 6TB. But I'd really recommend. I know it's difficult because you buy this when you sort of really first starting out, and you just think, you try to cut corners a little bit, make everything a bit cheaper. But honestly, with storage for this type of thing, buy as much as you can stretch to, and in the long run, it'll be much better because you won't outgrow the drive quite so quickly. And I mean, anybody that's done video, you know it's a nightmare to be cutting down drives all the time. It takes so much of your time to be cutting out little videos here and there and clips, and you know, it's just much easier to just have a nice big drive. And when this starts to fill up, I will have to probably go back and do that, but you know, it's just nice to know you've got all that space. So yeah, really, that, like I say, that's the only sort of purpose this really serves. It just gives you your the options between the 2 drives. It's got the cooling, and it's just a nice place where you can just kind of just store everything. And like I say, you do have different options. That it might be that if you do photography, it might be that a NAS drive is a better option, or you may want those extra drives. Like I say, there's lots of different types of these that are out there, so it's not you know, it's really not one drive suits everyone type thing. One thing you do have to kind of consider though, after a while, because they've just got a fan on the back, anybody that's ever had like a desktop PC, you know, like how dusty they kind of get after a while, so you've just got to just give it like a little bit of maintenance. The drives slot out easy. You can kind of just get inside and just give it like a quick dust, or just you know, blow a bit of air through it just to get all the dust out of it, because the last thing you want is obviously for both of the drives to just get clogged up with dust and then fail. So that sort of defeats the point in it. So just every now and then you've just got to kind of take them out, give it a clean, and yeah, just obviously make sure that you're not building up static or anything, because you don't want to damage the drives. But you know, it's easy enough just to take them out and give it a clean. But yeah, I think one thing to consider as well when you've got something like this, if you are storing client storage on there, you know, always make sure you can build a client, and you know, they'll be paying for a little bit of this anyway. So you know, your archive footage, you've got it in a neat place, and the client can sort of offset a little bit of the cost of this as well. You can add it to your bills if you're going to archive footage for them. And then for the next part of my setup, I've got a Mac, so most people would probably use Time Machine, but I'm using Carbon Copy Cloner, and essentially all I do is, so for days away, if I'm shooting and I've got my laptop, or if I'm just sort of away from this drive, what I'll do is I'll just have this Samsung drive. It's just a T7, nothing special. They do lots of different versions of this, like Shield and Touch and all the rest of them, but this is probably slightly extravagant for a backup drive. You know, it's quite a fast SSD drive, but the reason for it is because I just want the videos to offload as quickly as they can and be backed up really fast. I could have it's also tiny, you know, it's a tiny little lightweight drive. You can kind of fit that anywhere. It fits in a camera bag easy. It's got USB-C. Again, I don't want adapters for backups or for any type of, you know, like crucial drive. It's got to be straight into the computer. So that might be different for you depending on it, but the way I've set it up is just so that every time I plug this in, Carbon Copy Cloner just picks up that the backup drive's in, and then it just starts whizzing through backups. So you know, if I've got like whatever, like 20 minutes for lunch, this just gets plugged in. It's backing up all of my stuff. I know it's going to be done really quickly because it just kind of whizzes through really fast because it's got quick read and write speeds, and it's just like I say, it's probably slightly more than some people would spend on a backup drive. But for me, it's great because it's just quick and it's efficient, and you know, my time essentially, I'm thinking that is money. So it's kind of like I just want something working really quickly in the background. And all it does is it creates an exact structure of my Mac onto there. So, you know, there are other options for PC as well, but, you know, it's basically just creates a direct structure. It's got things like archive files and things like that. So it's great, really. It's just got everything I need. But that's just a general overview of like how I kind of have all my backups set. So, you know, if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments. And if this video's helped, give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, then please subscribe.